The whole idea of, telling it like it is. And this is where the fearlessness comes in, is don't be afraid to tell it like it is. You guys, I wish a little bit of you, so we were talking all these things are starting to resonate a little bit with your wedding, you did yesterday and stuff like that. I mean, how many of you guys are new to this, right? But how many times have you found yourself in a situation where you're kind of like, should I be showing this? Should I be shooting this, right? And, 9 times out of 10, people defer to the easy route because they don't want to be confrontational or whatever, or get in trouble, right? I set the expectations up pretty early with my clients that I'm like, I'm supposed to be a witness to that day, so I'm going to shoot it all, right? I'm going to shoot the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, the sad, the mad, right? The happy and the pretty are easy to shoot. The mad, the sad is kind of okay to shoot, is easy to shoot. The mad is really hard to shoot when somebody's mad. My cousin, when I shot her wedding, her parents surprised her with a horse and carriage to take her to the ceremony, and she was having none of it. And she walked out the door, and she saw it, and she goes, absolutely bleeping not, right? And I shot that. And I looked at my aunt, and I go, that'll be funny one day. Right now, it's a little sensitive, but it's going to be funny one day, And I just, in the end, I have to remember. It's like, how bad is it? Really, it's like this is how I live my life, and I try to live my life. But it's like, I went to Africa about 11 years ago, and I came back from that a little bit changed, because I'm seeing these people in Africa, and I'm seeing these kids that literally have 2-liter Coke bottle, 2-liter bottles as shoes, right? And they're happy as can be, and they're running around. And I get back home, and I hear somebody complaining because their coffee's not hot enough. I mean, this is silly. Like, what? Why are we doing this, And I try to just remember to myself and remind myself, it's like, what? This might seem like a catastrophe, but in the end, it's a horse and carriage. It's like nobody's hurt. Nobody's got cancer. Let's just kind of just laugh about it and move on, And I get that from my dad, I think, and the way that he approaches things. And I think I take that into my photography, right? Because I've shot every one of these daughters' weddings now, right? I love this photo, okay? And I just shot Amy's wedding. I love how she's like, so her sister is like freaking out, right? There's something wrong with the dress, and she's all pissed off, and she's like, dropping curse words and everything, and they're all trying to figure it out, and Amy just comes over and is like, and just her sister's butt, right? I love that. Totally love that picture, and they love it too. And then, you can totally see how annoyed her sister is in here. And, I don't have any problem showing that to people, because it's like, that's what it was, and I don't really know in the end if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but so far, people seem to be okay with it. As long as it's nothing major, of course, But this is another great example. See that spot on her forehead? You see that right there? Huh? So that's a curling iron burn, all right? Oh, everybody always does that. I was speaking in Amsterdam, and the whole place like, it was like you thought like somebody just died, right? And so that's a curling iron burn from the hair lady earlier in the day, burned her forehead with a curling iron, right? And it was the best thing that ever happened to her wedding, right? Because it changed things, And again, it's like you react that way when you learn that somebody is dying, or somebody has, this is just a curling iron burn on a wedding day, Shot a picture of the text she sent her groom that day. This is a GD curling iron burn. She was livid. And the makeup artist, within 20 minutes, it was gone. Wedding went off without a hitch. And it changed the dynamic that day just enough that all the spirits lifted and everybody was so happy and all their friends are like, we're going to get through this together, you know? And they did, and it was an awesome day. And so, but you know, by the time they got in the car, the makeup wore off. And I did not Photoshop that out because that is part of their wedding. That happened on their wedding, and they're going to talk about that years down the road, right? Does it matter if there's a photo of it? Probably not, right? But I got to just do what I do and be who I am and not mess with that stuff. Does that make sense? You know, cool. A couple more examples. Shooting things that are emotional is really, really, really hard. So this was, it was just me and her, and that's her sister in the hotel room together, and she's getting ready. And she's like, this is like the second time that day she's had like a breakdown, like crying and upset. And it's not one of those like, she's so happy I'm getting married today. It was just like I don't know what was going on, but something wasn't quite on track, you know? And so I'm in the room with them, and I'm just kind of shooting her, getting ready or whatever. And then, so this is a hotel room, right? So you know when you walk into a hotel room, sometimes there's that closet right there. So there's the door right behind you. So she goes over, she gets dressed, she goes over to look in the mirror, and she just loses it. And I'm like, and I'm literally like in the corner right here in the window, and she's right there, and I'm like, okay, well, okay, you got this, you know? And then her sister comes over and hugs her, and they just sit there and they hug for a while. And you know what I did was I had to make a photo of that moment, right? I mean, even though it was, and because you could feel it. Have you guys been there where you feel it in your soul, and you're like, this is not a happy cry, like something's going on. But I didn't choose to focus on her, right? You see that? I chose to focus on the sister, because to me that was the story. It wasn't the story about like, oh, she's freaking out about something. It was the story about that sisterly love and her sister helping her. And what I did was I got down. A big thing I do all the time is I'm always shooting out of eye level, right? So there's an emotional thing happening, and if I was sitting right here at the sister, I'd be like, you know, yeah, hug her, that's looking good. You know, I mean, it would feel weird, right? So I just kind of quietly get myself in the corner, and I sink down, and I shoot up. I shoot up at things to kind of remove myself a little bit from the situation, right? So, you know, and I didn't hammer down on this one. Who asked that? Did you ask that? I wasn't just like, you know, because it is vital, people. Kirsten talked about this. It's vital that you respect the integrity of the moment, right? You have to, because it's not about you, and it's about them experiencing what's happening, right? But you still got to shoot it. You know, I love the 5D Mark III, the Canon 5D Mark III. Who shoots Canon? Anybody? Yeah, okay. I love the 5D Mark III with the silent shutter mode. I actually use that quite a bit now, just to help, like, just take that down a little bit on the intrusiveness of what I am to the moment. And somebody talked about that, didn't they, Jen? Didn't somebody ask a question about that? How close is too close? You know, that's hard to say. I've bumped to the back of people's heads with my lens because I've been too close, you know? But I think you just have to, you got to feel it out in your soul and feel it out what you're comfortable with, you know? And then find out ways to kind of just like adapt to what's going on and make the moment as natural and real as possible. Because it's going to be already kind of a little bit unreal because you're there, you know? But you got to do the best you can.
And Tyler, I just want to let folks out there know that later in the workshop, we are going to be talking all about your settings, all about your equipment, all about that stuff. We're just not delving into it today.
No, totally. I mean, this is just setting all that stuff up, right?
Yeah, they're asking. We're you know, stay tuned. We're getting there.
We're gonna go through tomorrow. I'm gonna give you a couple game changer secrets, in my opinion, on how I shoot manual and the way I keep up with things really quickly. And I'm also gonna talk about another secret that I think makes the difference, you know? So we're gonna dive into it a lot. I know, just hang in there with me. I gotta get all you guys on board first, and then I can tell you how to do it. Is that cool? I don't know what the camera is. There you go. Okay. Anyway, so you know, I'm getting close to kind of wrapping this stuff up, hopefully. But you know, just don't be afraid to show it who it is. This guy was freaking out before he walked down the aisle. I shot that through the crack of the door, right? After the ceremony, he always has his phone, and she's not happy with him. Shot that, you know. This is what he did during the first dance, which I find hilarious, you know? But it's like, you just can't put judgment on them and be like, I can't believe he did that during his first dance. Because if you pass judgment on these people and who you're photographing, then you're not going to photograph the real moments because you're just going to wait for the moments that you think they should be having. That makes sense, right? Fortunately, I find it funny. This is the cake cutting. It's one of my favorite photos I've ever shot. I have no idea what they're doing, but that's hilarious, right? So somebody had asked, like, how do I deal with things that go wrong? This is a wedding in Traverse City, Michigan, right? So I'm gonna give you a little heads up on this. I'm giving you guys ways to like embrace things that you all think are problems and use them to your advantage and make stories and interesting pictures out of them. Does that make sense? Like, so I'm hoping you guys are seeing through my stories kind of why I approach it in this way and how this actually starts to make every stinking wedding unique for each person, right? So I loved, this wedding was amazing, like really awesome. It started out, so they hired us to go to Traverse City, Michigan and shoot their wedding. Amanda, yes. And then they then they wrote us like a few months later and they're like, okay, hey, you guys mind going to Bermuda? No, Aruba instead. And I'm like, sure, well, I don't care. If it's on the same date, I'll go wherever you want me to go. Doesn't bother me, right? Great. Going to Aruba, Pam, okay, you know. And then a few months later, never mind, it's back in Traverse City. and I'm like, what happened, you know? And what's so funny about it is that they're like, you know what? We wanted our wedding to be small. But because it was in Traverse City, Michigan, the guest list started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to take it to Aruba where half of you people can't come, right? Which I think was brilliant, by the way. And then she said, you know what, though? It's our wedding. We want this thing in Aruba. In Traverse City, Michigan. So you know what? We're moving it back to Michigan, but only the Aruba people can come, right? Right? Which I thought was genius, right? Take control of your wedding day. So she dreamed about this location. She had this barn. Down the hill was this pond overlooking the river or the lake, and like, you know, all set up in these, you know, all this beautifulness, whatever. And 45 minutes before the ceremony, we get this. See where they're at? No, actually, I'm sorry. They're way up here. So that's literally right in the path, right? And then it's all going downhill, right? Everything's unraveling. Everybody's unhappy. My wife, Pam, I'm going to throw her under the bus a little bit. She's going to be really mad at me. I think she's picking the kids up from school, so she won't see this. But she was shooting with me. And, you know, in her defense, she's just not as hardcore as I am. And she was down shooting the girls, or, you know, Amanda down there and everything. And she comes back up. I'm like, hey, what's going on down there? And she's like, she's really upset, like really upset. And I go, so why aren't you down there? Well, who wants pictures of that? And I'm like, I do. So I went down there, and you know, and I just started documenting the story, and I'm showing how she felt, right? And have you ever dealt with any weather things where people were like freaking out?
Yeah, I had one earlier this summer. It rained hard all morning until noon, and she had been praying for 4.5 months for no rain. And,
I know. That's why it rained, by the way.
I didn't tell her that. But.
Yeah, I didn't tell her that.
Yeah. But,
I have a wedding planner in Kansas City that says, I tell them, like, don't be weather watchers. If you're weather watchers, it's going to rain. Just let it go, you know? So, yeah, right? And she was freaking out. And
she was, but it was amazing light. It turned the mountains this beautiful deep green. I kept telling her at the makeup place, I was like, don't worry, this is better than sun, I promise.
Trust me.
Yeah, and the photos were great.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
It all works out. It always works out, right? It torrentially downpoured on our wedding to the point where that weekend a family sadly got washed off the highway and they all died. And it's horrible. Not for our wedding, but you know, I mean, just like, and like our wedding was gonna be outside, our dog was gonna be in the wedding, and like all that stuff got scrapped because of the rain. You know, and if I had one more person tell me, rain is good luck, I was going to just go nuts on them. It's like, I'll take my chances, you know? And so, I mean, I get it, right? You know, but you just have to kind of deal with it. It is what it is. Her mom, you know, comforting her. And then, you know, but, you know, this really made, and like everybody's like watching the rain. And it's just funny because like there's literally nothing you can do. And they all were just like staring at it all day long. And I'm like, it's still raining, you know? But they ended up moving the ceremony up into the barn. It's the best thing that ever happened. Absolute best thing that ever happened. And, you know, I think her emotions were really heightened that day. And that really made the moments really pop out. I absolutely love this photo of her waiting to go down the aisle. Right? That's the chef who's just sitting there with an umbrella. You know, but how do you tell this story, you know? And that was a photo that really, you can tell she's just kind of like, okay, I guess we'll go get married, you know? And then she gets up there and her parents walked her down. Look at the guy looking at me. Dad's totally looking at me. Like, don't look at me, dude. Oh well. It is what it is. Ceremony. What?
So we did have a comment in the chat rooms. I just wanted to pass your way. Not picking up the kids and just heard him throw me under the bus. There you go.
Can you apologize for me?
I think you just did.
Oh, she's awesome. Okay, so nice, Jim. I'll get you back for that one. Okay, so yeah, you know, so they moved the ceremony into the barn, and it was just really, 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 really fantastic. And it was hot, right? This is their friend who was officiating, and I just love that photo. It's such it's just like a unique photo, but it just shows the story of how it felt that day. And you know, it's just awesome stuff. Great light coming in, right? And then I'll never forget, you know, this moment. Sun came out, right? Amazing light, amazing day. They come out the barn, they go around the corner to this, and all I can hear her say is, oh my God, that was so much better than I ever could have imagined, right? And so it's like you just encourage people just to let it go. Like, you know, what is that song? You want to sing it with me? Let it go. I'm kidding. Okay. And, you know, but yeah, right? You know, but it's just like let it go. And it'll be what it'll be, and just let it progress and let life take over. And to me, it's just the way I got to do things, you know? It's the way I do things in my life and the way I do things in my photography. And then they had, you know, I just thought I'd show you some, you know, first dance was great because there's great light. They released those things. What are those things called? Are they like Chinese lanterns? I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of fun. It's just, you know, and then you know, on the way back to their hotel, he's in his T-shirt. I love that he's buckled in. You know, I find that hilarious. Yes.
You go to their hotel with them?
Sometimes.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that.
Okay.
Talk about
Is that the all-night coverage?
Talk about that on Wednesday.
Okay.
Don't get ahead of me. I got ahead of myself, right? So yeah, you know, I mean, like, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm not a wedding photographer. I don't consider myself a wedding photographer, even though I shoot at weddings, right? And the reason I do that is because weddings get me as close to photojournalism as I can without having to get into photojournalism again, because of not wanting to. Well, I want to, but you understand. It gets me as close as I can, and so therefore I have to approach it in that way. And so I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I don't consider myself a wedding photographer. I consider myself a documentary photographer that does it at weddings, you know? And the cool thing about weddings is, and why even though I don't like what wedding practices have come to, I love weddings because everybody's emotions are on their sleeves. Everything's heightened, and those opportunities come out more, you know, which is really fantastic.